Who is Russian President Vladimir Putin? Vladimir Putin, who has been in power in Russia for many years, has been described as a closed box when it comes to his relations with the outside world or what motivates his political decisions. A former KGB agent, Putin's personal life is also shrouded in mystery and controversy. Vladimir Putin, who has been in power in Russia for many years, is described as a closed box when it comes to his relations with the outside world or what motivates his political decisions. A former KGB agent, Putin's personal life is also shrouded in mystery and controversy. After defying the West in the Ukraine crisis, Putin launched a war in Europe despite warnings of sanctions. It remains to be seen how this war will turn out and what consequences it will have for relations between the West and Moscow. NATO's expansion into countries bordering Russia is seen by Putin as a threat to Moscow's security and sphere of influence. Putin's first years. Vladimir Putin was born in 1952 in the city known as Leningrad in the USSR. Boris Yeltsin renamed Leningrad to St. Petersburg after the collapse of the USSR. Putin served in the KGB, the Soviet equivalent of the CIA, for 15 years. Putin divorced Lyudmila Shkrebneva, whom he married in 1983, in 2013. He has two daughters, Maria and Katerina. Putin is careful not to appear in public with his children. In 1994, Putin became deputy mayor of St. Petersburg, the city where he was born. Then, in 1998, he became the director of the FSB, the Domestic Intelligence Agency. Putin became prime minister and then president in 1999 and has continued to expand his influence ever since. For more than 20 years, Putin has been at the forefront, transforming the country's institutions and consolidating his grip on power. Russia passed a bill allowing Putin to serve 2 more terms as head of state, paving the way for his leadership until 2036. In the following years, Putin increased the defense industry budget and tried to modernize some sectors of the economy, such as the strategically important oil and natural gas reserves. His place on the world stage. Putin has seen 5 U.S. presidents in his political lifetime: Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and Joe Biden. He has confronted and sharply disagreed with the West over cyber attacks, the war in Iraq and Syria, Ukraine and Georgia. In 2008, Georgia lost what little influence it had over South Ossetia and Abkhazia after Russia's support in the war. Russia then annexed the Ukrainian territory of Crimea in 2014. After the annexation of Crimea, the West imposed a series of sanctions on Russia. These sanctions are still in force. Analysts believe that Moscow's support for the separatists in Ukraine's Donetsk region is partly due to the Crimean sanctions. A genius or a murderer? Some leaders described Putin as a killer, others praised him. Former U.S. President Bush said of Putin, "I looked him in the eye. I found him straightforward. I found him trustworthy." Almost 20 years later, speaking on Fox News, Bush corrected his remarks by saying, Putin, is a very smart tactician. U.S. President Biden, on the other hand, calls Putin a murderer. Accusing Moscow of interfering in the U.S. elections, Biden said of Putin, "He is a murderer. He will pay for interfering in the elections." President Erdogan also described Putin as a man of his word who keeps his promises in a statement in December 2020. According to USA Today, former British intelligence chief John Sars had this to say about Putin. "He speaks to so few people that it's hard to know what he's really thinking, what's going through his mind. I think Putin wants to restore Russia to its former power, but he doesn't know how to do it." Don't forget to subscribe.